So welcome to our concert. This is the concert of the oboe faculty of the UWEC Double Reed Camp, our online version this year. So we have three of us who will be playing some music for you. First, I just want to make sure, I hope that all the settings are right. So I might get a little message if the settings are not correct, if you can't hear me. But one of the things that's, I think one of the most wonderful things about being a musician is to have such a wide variety of repertoire available. You know, we have music that spans hundreds of years. But today, we're going to play a concert that is all music of our time. And by that, it's even more exciting that we can say that we have some composers who've written pieces actually for each of us, and we're going to be sharing some of that with you today. The first piece is one that was actually not written for oboe, but this composer is such a stunning composer that it was written for flute, so I took it. And I hope that Ulysses would be okay with that. But it's gorgeous. It's a prelude for solo flute or for unaccompanied flute. And I just wanted to share that with you as the first piece. So again, that was a prelude by Ulysses Kay, originally for unaccompanied flute. I hope you'll all look up the piece and explore it. His music is just really, really beautiful. He has written a few pieces for oboe. They just all use accompaniment. So that's what I had available for you today. Our next piece is kind of a fun one. And I can't wait till I get to play this with an audience in attendance. But this is called Play for Solo Oboe and Audience by Carrie Vecchione. Carrie Vecchione is an oboist herself, And she also composes a number of pieces, and they're all kind of fun. So this first one is called Snap. So as it says, you'll be doing some snapping. In the second movement, which I'm not going to play today, has some singing for the audience. And then in the last movement, there's actually stomping and clapping. So it's the sort of thing that the audience gets to kind of participate in this piece. But I thought I'd show you just the first movement, which is called Snap. And so I'll be having you snap on some offbeats. Make sure they're in the stream here. So I'll have you be doing that for a little bit. This piece is actually kind of in 3 sections. There's an A section where you'll be snapping on the offbeat, and then I'll cut you off, and then you'll be snapping on every beat. And then I'll cut you off again, and then we'll go back to the offbeats. So this is just an incredibly fun piece by Carrie Vaneman. Hopefully you were able to snap along with that. I have one last piece for you before Lindabeth plays. And this piece was composed by Chiayu, who is a beloved composer who's on our faculty at Eau Claire. And we had a flute colleague who was retiring, and we gave a concert about a month ago now. And about a week before, she said, "I'm going to write a piece for you." Now, when someone says they're going to write a piece for you, you never say no, because it's just, you get to put a new piece into the world. So she wrote this piece, and it's actually for English horn. So I need to go get my English horn. Actually, this isn't even my English horn. Our university just purchased this new instrument, and it arrived, sadly, while our campus was shut down. But lucky for me, I've got to break it in. But our students will get to play this when they come back to campus. So it's something they get to look forward to. So this piece is called Brown Penny, on a theme of E, F, and A. There's only 3 pitches that are represented in this piece, and they happen to be the 3 favorite notes of my retiring colleague, Tim Lane. But it's also referencing a wonderful poem that was written by William Butler Yeats. And this poem was an absolute favorite of my colleagues, and still is his favorite poem. And so Chiayu decided to kind of be inspired by this for this composition. And so she always asks that we read the poem. So let me read it to you. The title again is Brown Penny. It says, I whispered, I am too young. And then, I am old enough. Wherefore I threw a penny to find out if I might love. Go and love, young man, if the lady be young and fair. Ah, penny, brown penny, I am looped in the loops of her hair. Oh, love is the crooked thing. There is nobody wise enough to find out all that is in it, for he would be thinking of love till the stars had run away and the shadows eaten the moon. Ah, penny, brown penny, one cannot begin it too soon. So again, this is Brown Penny on the theme of E, F, and A by Chiayu Hsu. Now we'll be going virtually to Michigan, where you'll get to hear Lindabeth Binkley.
Hi everybody, Lindabeth Binkley here, and I hope you can all hear me, so I'll keep an eye on my phone if you can't. So tonight I'm going to play for you this one, oh, hi everybody. It's Lindabeth Binkley here, coming at you from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Tonight I'm going to play for you this wonderful work by Jenni Brandon. The name of the work is Woodsong, and this is a piece that I commissioned for my new CD that is just out. Here's your public service announcement, called From Earth and Sky, music of Jenni Brandon. And what's really cool about this is this was the first time that I was able to collaborate with a composer. And what was so exciting about it was to kind of see this piece be brought to life. And what Jenni did is she found a poem that she loved by Sarah Teasdale. And the poem is titled Woodsong, and it goes like this. I heard a wood thrush in the dusk, twirl 3 notes and make a star. My heart that walked with bitterness came back from very far. 3 shining notes were all he had, and yet they made a starry call. I caught life back against my breast and kissed it, scars and all. So she took the imagery of the poem and the idea of the wood thrush bird and wrote this really beautiful piece. And it has some very unique features that I kind of want you to be aware of. As the piece was sort of unfolding, she sent me bird calls from the Audubon Society and said, okay, this is what a wood thrush sounds like. How would you make it sound like that on the oboe? So one of the things you're going to hear is a little bit of stuttering, and that's intentional. And that's kind of one of the calls that the bird will make. Another thing that you'll hear are timbral trills, and a timbral trill is going to just ever so slightly shade the color of the note a little bit. So one of them is this. It'll sound like this. And again, that's to represent a bird call. She also has a very specific wood thrush pit volley call, and that always starts with an elongated first note. And so you'll hear all these little different bird calls, and there's a moment where she talks about my heart that walked with bitterness came back from very far, where the character completely changes. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Wood Song for Solo Oboe by Jenni Brandon. There you go. And now we go to Carrie.
You ready?
Do you have to turn the volume turned off?
Yep.
Okay, just see when you see
Here
it.
we are. Hi, everyone. So here we are. We are OboeBass. I'm Carrie, and here's my husband, Rolf Erdahl. We're going to play for you a piece that was written for OboeBass. We actually have created an entire repertoire of pieces for OboeBass. We're really excited about them, and that's one of our missions, to go around and share this music with everybody. But I think one of our most exciting compositions is the one we're about to play for you. This was because we were awarded a grant, a commissioning grant from Chamber Music America in New York City. They selected like 10 groups from around the country to have a piece written for them, and we could choose whatever composer we wanted. And we chose Valerie Coleman.
Now, Valerie Coleman is well known to a lot of double reed players because of her work with the Imani Winds as the founding flutist and composer. Valerie actually started off as a child prodigy. After starting music lessons at age 11, she had composed 3 symphonies by the time she was 14 years old and won numerous prizes. A few years ago, Anne Midgett of the music critic of the Washington Post declared her one of the leading 35 women in classical music. She's currently the professor of flute, chamber music, and entrepreneurship at the University of Miami Frost School of Music. And one of her most recent accolades was this year she was named Classical Woman of the Year by National Public Radio's Performance Today. She is a phenomenon. While she was working on our piece, she also had a few other commissions for the Philadelphia Orchestra, for instance. So we were willing to wait a couple weeks to get ours finished, but it was kind of fun to be in that company and working with this wonderful composer.
So we told Valerie that we were trying to create some pieces that had the theme of Americana. That could mean a whole lot of things. So she kind of took it off in her own direction, and she wrote a piece for us called American Vein. And Valerie says that American Vein is a nostalgic look at what the best of America means to us all. Now, this piece is in 5 movements, and in those 5 movements we travel in time and geography around the country. Each movement centers and focuses and represents a different theme of what we know and remember about this country. So for instance, movement 1, called the Redwood Forest, celebrates all the natural wonders of America, but it specifically centers on the great sequoia forests of California.
The second movement is on Route 66, and it celebrates the idea of a family road trip. Picture the station wagon with the fake wood trim and as many people as you can cram into a car, driving across America and trying to take in every roadside attraction. So this kind of captures the fun and whimsy of that, and who's driving, who's shotgun, and who makes the choices.
The third movement is called Woodstock, Summer of 1952. And this represents a former sense of security we all felt in this country, where people felt free to experiment, to express opinions, and maybe start some revolutions. And these revolutions Valerie's talking about happened in Woodstock, New York. There were actually 2 pretty famous musical revolutions. One of them probably comes to mind first. Well, I guess all of you were not even born, I guess, when both of these happened, but the most famous one is probably the one that happened in 1969. It was a big hippie revolution with all sorts of rock bands and all sorts of things that went on with the young people, causing a revolution in music. So the first part of the movement pays tribute to the great guitarist Jimi Hendrix. He was very famous at this Woodstock festival for playing the national anthem on his electric guitar, the wild and crazy sound. It really caused an uproar that he played national anthem on the electric guitar. So that was one revolution in Woodstock. A second revolution happened even before that in 1952, when the famous composer John Cage premiered his famous piece called 4 minutes and 33 seconds, which was 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. It actually caused an uproar because some people thought it was new and exciting, but other people thought it was an insult to music. What is this? It's silence. That's not music. This is a joke. And this started a revolution and a philosophical discussion about what is music, or even what is silence.
Movement 4 is entitled The Melting Pot, and it's inspired by the poem The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus that stands at the foot of the Statue of Liberty. And this movement celebrates the immigrant strain of American history. We are a nation of many peoples, and this just celebrates all the different pieces of the patchwork that makes up the American quilt.
And the last movement is called Barn Raising, Bourbon, and Bluegrass. And that centers on the idea of community, which is, of course, it's a part of humanity. It's important to all of us. And it kind of brings together the idea of how a barn raising, food, and music can unite us all in wonderful ways, and how much we can accomplish as a nation.
Now, this is not just music that's going on. There's also going to be spoken words, and we're going to be either using short passages of poetry or quotations as beginnings or interspersed in the pieces. Most of these verbal expressions are actually poems written by the composer Valerie Coleman. In the few instances where they are not, we will cite the authors and the sources of the literature.
Do you want to?
Yeah. And that background percussion is not someone playing rain sticks. It's actually raining in Apple Valley, if you can hear it.
American Vein. Movement 1, the Redwood Forest. Do you know about the world tree from which all others are born? I have seen its mighty children, ancestor groves whose thrones of noble feet hold down the roots of earth worn. A tribe who was tall since memory was new, stood stilted oaken pillars that climb and crown the heavens' kiss with manes of glory. Even the arrogant fools of men must bow to the sequoias as royalty, whose records bear wisdom we cannot hear, though they speak with a voiceless might in vigilance as sentinels of Earth's humanity.
Movement 2, on Route 66. Soda shop, lollipop, biggest ball of yarn. Do we dare stop, hun? Honk. The tour map flirts dangerously with the broad open window, winking her crisp edges with a snap to the vistas of gas stations, eagles, and crows. She thinks she is perfect hostess for telling us the places to be, but becomes wildly offended by the shotgun navigator's snore. Such rude manners, says she. With a hump, she bows a vain curtsy, outstretching her glove to her dance partner, ere a dramatic exit indeed. None the wiser, I sink into un sueño, an idyll of fluttering postcards and dusky tumbleweeds that fade like memories. Movement 3, Woodstock, summer of 1952. John Cage. Silence, lectures and writing. There is no such thing as an empty space or an empty time. There is always something to see, something to hear. In fact, try as we may to hear a silence, we cannot. Movement 4, The Melting Pot. The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from shore to shore.
Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles.
From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor the twin cities frame.
Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Movement 5, barn raising, bourbon, and bluegrass. You'd think it all happens in grays and browns, the way Grandpa remembers it.
Suspenders thumb-hooked and steely jaw glinting at that old barn. And when his eyes took a long breath, his heart spoke of raising it the right way. Decency and respect for the frame, to be shored up with nails and pegs of grit and sweat, then hoisted up with ropes and levers of integrity. Some of your neighbors will stand and balance on that frame when it goes up, he said, to keep watch and secure it strong enough to stand in all seasons.
Once that barn was up, we sat down for a meal. 10 hams, 75 cakes, 175 pies, and 500 tarts were all eaten in an hour. Then came the bourbon and bluegrass.
So thank you. That was American Vein by Valerie Coleman. That's the end of our concert. So everyone can click out of this and then join the Zoom meeting for our final meeting for this evening. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Enjoyed playing for you.